grateful to be here. My name and my language is Wushonan Kasipasek, and in the language of my wife, who is Yawanawa from Brazil, it is Yawa Msharawa. I think this is the best part of everything that we've been doing is speaking with the youth, who are the ones that are the most impacted. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today was, I have a question for everybody in the audience and everybody to think about. How many generations back can you remember? Can anybody in this room remember 6 generations back? Nobody. Can anybody remember 4 generations back? Maybe a couple, right? This was taken from you. This is a disconnect, right? If you don't remember where you come from, then you can be controlled and you can be manipulated, right? If you were taken from your original place, if you were surgically removed from your culture, if you were removed from our Earth Mother, from your seeds, from your songs, from your language, from your understanding of who you are on this planet, then you can be controlled. And then you just become a commodity and a usable tool. And so the Indigenous, we have this which I'm grateful for, ability to still hold on to that memory. And so I'm Schaghticoke from here. I can remember 15 generations back through oral tradition and through stories and through songs. And really we can remember since time immemorial and what we've been doing here. And with that, we also have this trauma, right, of separation from our land, from our families, from our culture, from our language. And that has been extremely devastating for us. And so one thing that I've had to do is try to help our people to re-indigenize in order to be able to help our future generations. We go off of the 7 generations principles, right? So we inherit everything from the 3 generations before us, and then we hold it in trust for the 3 generations to come. So I don't know if anybody noticed, but I had a tattoo on the side of my face, right? And that's 7 lines, and the center line is me. And that's why I connect that center line. And then the next line up is the next generation forward, and I connect that line to my eyes, because I'm always looking to that next generation, right? If I do something, how is it going to affect our children? What's going to happen to our next generations, right? And so we have to think about that, like, do I have a right to poison the water? Do I have a right to put all of these processed foods in front of them? Or should I be doing something to rejuvenate the damage that's been done? And so recently, we acquired 73 acres of land in New York in our traditional territory, and it's forested. And how many people like to go into the forests of New England and see how beautiful they are, especially like in the spring and the fall, right? Gorgeous. Well, they're beautiful, but they're new, and they're basically what we're looking at as the resilience of our Earth Mother, right? We see a lot of maples, we see a lot of oaks, we see a lot of beech and birch. Not much else. You know, then you get some pines in there and stuff like that. Most of them have been introduced in our area. But we don't have that biodiversity that we used to have through indigenous forest management that's been going on for thousands of years. So, even though this forest, this piece of land that we were given back, right, is forested, we've planted in the last 2 years 3,000 trees. different species, right? Fruits, nuts, berries, things that are supposed to be in our forest, right? And we have to think about the future and not just about us. You know, we heard before, we're part of the circle, we're not up here. And we have to stop acting like we're up here and it's all about us, right? Because that's what's destroying everything. We have to get back into balance. And so we were able to do 3,000 trees, thousands of other seeds, ginseng, stuff like that, and reintroduce this into the forest. And bring back species that are supposed to be here. So another problem that we have in the United States in particular is that we have people coming from all over the place, whether displaced or moving or whatever, and they've lived in other countries for thousands of years, and they've adapted in other countries for thousands of years. And now they're here. And now we're all eating off the same plate, we're all drinking from the same bottled water, but we're not eating from our environments. The foods that are actually supposed to grow in our environments, the nuts in the fall, you know, the berries in the spring and the summer. And so we're not given the opportunity to adapt to our environment. If I take a green iguana and a rock iguana and switch places, what do I expect to happen? Are they going to survive? I don't think so, right? So if I come from an area that gets a ton of sun, and my body is adapted to being in an area that gets a ton of sun, and so my body's darker, so it blocks out a lot of those things that are coming in from the sun already. So then I move to an environment that doesn't have that same situation with the sun, and now I'm not getting enough vitamin D in my body because my body's still doing the same thing, but I'm not eating from the environment and drinking from the environment to adapt to that environment. And so I'm getting these sicknesses. And it goes for everyone. If you don't allow yourself to adapt to the environment that you live in, then how can you not get sick from the food that you're eating? How can you not get sick because you've been doing this for thousands of years where you come from? And so these are things that I think about. I also do a lot of work in the Brazilian Amazon. My wife is Yawanawa from Brazil, and so we're in the jungle half the year. And we have a jungle about 8 hours in, we have a village about 8 hours into the jungle. And I'm seeing in this area where the checkerboarding is happening, where the deforestation is happening. And even 8 hours into the jungle, we're seeing the effects of farming and mining and what's going on down there. And so we can no longer drink out of the river. Everybody's getting sick. There's flooding and toxins that they're not educated about. And then they get into the towns and they're eating off of the same plate that we're eating off of, right? And they still have their indigenous diet. And so in their diet, they eat a lot of fruits and nuts and stuff like that. So there's a lot of sugar already into their diet. So then you go into the town and they're very poor. So they get the bread and the sugar and all the processed garbage. And so then they get sick. They get diabetes. They get high blood pressure. At 30 years old, they're taking blood pressure medications. And so I try to help them by, we work together to really talk about the agro-food forestry and really get into where our food is coming from. And so what I want to just leave you with, and I know I kind of go off on tangents, but what I want to leave you with is there is a way that we can evolve together where we are. And that is getting your hands in the dirt, eating from the environment that you're in, drinking the water from the environment that you're in, and fighting to make sure that that water is clean enough for you and for your children and for your next generations. Water is not just life. Water is the culmination of all of its parts. You can't tell me that water is just H2O. Water carries all the memory of the land. It carries the metals, minerals, and nutrients that you need to survive in any environment that you live in. It is literally the lifeblood of the earth. And if we're all drinking bottled water, we have to get those metals, minerals, and nutrients somehow. And if we want to survive in the environments that we're in, we also have to eat from those environments and those foods that are there growing in the summer, winter, fall, and spring, in order to be able to adapt to those to the seasons in the areas that we live in. So anyway, Onioe, Ane Nakicha Achawachid. I'm grateful to you. You are my relatives. Thank you.